Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to On the Level, Thomas van der Zander, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Mr. Amish, Sensual Goat, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMails24, Unamento, Iron26, Endless, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, Level Plain Poem, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Chow Young Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Okay.
Well, Flat Earth doesn't have a belief system attached to it unless you would appeal to all the other whimsical theories.
Oh,
Did you go in this server?
What is it?
Did you go in the server?
Did I get in the server?
Yeah, you said you were alluding to the idea that it was labelled as a Flat Earth server, but wasn't. And I'm asking, did you go in there? Did you go and talk to him?
Yeah, I did. That's how I, quickly found out that they was, heliocultists posing as flat earthers. And then eventually they said, one of the mods said, well, I'm not sure, kind of like he's on the fence. And it's like, well, why don't you just say that from the get-go? You know? After a 30-minute long discussion with him, he's, oh, well, actually, I just don't know. And it's like, well, why'd you tell me this from the get-go? You know?
Fair enough. So what, in your opinion, the purpose was they're just inquisitive? It just seems a bit left field to name a server after a subject that you're undecided about.
Right. Yeah.
So what do you think their game is? Or don't you know?
What is it?
I'm asking what you think their game is.
Well, it's I don't know. It seems pretty obvious to me. I mean, seems like heliocentrism is losing, so they have to bring in these people posing as flat earthers just to make just like the Flat Earth Society. Oh, the Earth is rising upward. There's your replacement for gravity. No evidence of it, but there you go. It's pretty obvious why people pose as the opposition. It's to try to discredit the opposition. In my opinion.
You're breaking up a little bit. Okay, I think I got the idea. What people would have typically just turned around and called shills. Controlled opposition shills in this instance, you feel, or you think.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fair enough. Any other interesting news happen over the weekend? Did you see my video?
No.
Are you talking about the ones where the Globers say that they measured flat, but it's measured flat because it's a big ball?
Yeah, I've been saying this for ages. The ballers have been telling us that Earth's measured flat because they have to. That's how Earth is. Right, now they'll apologise for why it ain't ball shaped, or why in that circumstance it's okay to measure it flat. Well, they don't even know they're doing it until it's pointed out to them. So a couple of them have been doing it, and I've been pointing it out to them. It's like for the especially for the people who've been a little bit negative and gone, oh, you know, I don't really buy this argument. It's like, well, our opponent does. They use flat Earth measurements, so yeah, this is devastating. It just needs a few more examples like that, so people can actually see how devastating it really is. But it is.
So you're saying flat lines are not viable on a curved surface, correct?
I'm saying that Earth's measured flat for everyone.
Right.
So as long as our opponents have a reasonably coherent understanding of what's being done with respect to Earth, then they will understand that Earth is being measured flat, because it is. Now, their previous apologies were what flat earthers took umbrage with and then debated. Like, I don't care about your belief after the fact. Yeah, okay, so you understand that you measure Earth flat, and you expect me to listen to your apologies for why it wouldn't need to be anything other than flat when you measure it, but it's still a really big ball. I don't care about your mitigation. You know, the bit that we're measuring is the bit that I concern myself with, and you also measure Earth flat. So there's no ambiguity. Flat Earth measurements.
Hey, Rebecca, retard. You gonna come off
Mm.
mute?
Who's playing that?
Say again?
Bloody hell, Curie, did you wet the bed?
Yeah, I'm trying to get retard off a mute. Any chance for that? You think you could just spread your retardedness around because you're a member of Nathan's show and a Patreon? You think that's gonna get you by? Huh?
What's the issue?
Little friggin' weasel retard.
What's the actual issue?
Issue. It's been an issue the whole time, diverting my conversations away from the topic, straw manning us or me. Just go to Ballbuster's text chat if you get a chance. You're too busy to do that.
And at this
It's
second.
pathetic.
That's why I'm kind of asking. I hope you just fill me in. You're here, really?
It's long coming. Oh, hold on a second. Just take my word for it.
Well, that's great. It's good. Makes for good conversation. I'll take your word for it then. Anyway, take your word for what?
Are you sure it's Rebecca?
Oh, that was fun.
Whoever Rebecca is, I want to hear from her. Pretty good going, getting QE 4 hours early out of bed without eating breakfast.
Nah, I did take care of some stuff this morning. It's going to be a busy week for me.
Found a little clip from like a cartoony type YouTuber, and my eldest daughter occasionally watches this YouTuber as well. But in the first 20 seconds of one of his shorts video, he summarizes what I would call the Western world science problem. He summarizes it beautifully. Not because he's trying to, but for our benefit, he summarizes it. We'll get to it in the live show. As soon as I edit, I put it. I thought I must save this video and cover it on Monday. Like 20 seconds of gold that just explains what the real problem with the Western world is as far as we are concerned.
You know, I got a question about this science thing because it happened while I was shopping for cat food, and I just want to hear what you guys say about it.
Can you direct it to QE so I can get a coffee?
Okay, I'll direct to the QE. It's very simple. We were just we were looking for cat food, right? And I was on one side, and then she shuffled over to my side, and then we're kind of like all over each other trying to scramble to get the cat food that our cats like. And I said, the science of buying cat food, right? I said that as a joke. And of course, I said it at her understanding of what science is, right? Not what, because obviously what we were doing wasn't science. So what I'm saying is, was in that context using the colloquial understanding of science. All right.
Don't do it.
Okay.
There is no colloquial understanding of science. It's either natural science or it's not.
I gotcha, but like it seems everybody else only understands it at that level, right? They don't understand it beyond that level.
I don't take into account other people's ignorance. That has nothing to do with natural science. Follow?
Okay. I'm listening.
No, that's it.
Okay.
Finish your story, Rogers.
Well, that was it. It was just like a joke, and it was funny. She laughed, I laughed, and then we were on our merry way. At first, I thought about it, I thought the joke, but I was like, you know. But when it came to actually talking, it just came out of me without even thinking. Yeah, that's it. Well, Jero, now that you're up mood, what are you saying?
There is actually a dog food called Science Plan.
You know, even my cat food says backed by science. Now, in that case, it could be true, right? Because you know, things with diet and health, there is science behind that, right? And I think my cat food is called Vet Diet. Is it this the one that says backed by science, or was another one? No, it was another one. Let's see here. That was another one. But when I seen it, I'm
That,
like, huh, are they talking science or pseudoscience? Because when they say that, I know they sometimes use it as a buzzword, and it just kind of makes me, you know, it's like they're trying to hoodwink me if that's the case, right? What were you gonna say one day?
well,
Oh, that's you, Matthias.
I'm just wondering how that could be science. It seems like they don't really have a stable controlled variable.
Well, I remember the QB gave the example with the what do you call it? Scurvy, right? That's a natural phenomena, right? You observe in the body. and you find out what the cause is, and it was, you know, tied to a diet, right? QB put it, the lack of vitamin C. So that's, you see, you have your natural phenomena, and then you have the cause, right? The independent variable. So in that sense, the same thing could cross over into like into cat food, right?
Well, cats make their own vitamin C. They don't need it.
All right. Well, in that case,
No,
yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I took advantage of that. Sorry, it was out there.
All right.
But go ahead. What was the claim on the cat food? Go ahead.
Well, I'm saying there could be science behind it, right? They could be studying the natural phenomena of observing cats and, you know, the effects on them, and
Sure,
they could be looking at the diet. Yeah.
sure, sure. They could. So each instance would have to be taken into account. So it's not going to have what the exact natural science is on the can. I wouldn't expect that. But if they make a claim of science, you'd have to call them up and say, okay, what experiments um, led you to these results? That's what I would do if you wanted to do that.
Okay.
You follow?
Yeah, yeah. But
I'm not.
I was just interested in could it be science or could it be not? Because some things are obvious. Oh, it's not science. You know what I mean? It's just
Sure.
obviously pseudoscience, right? So that's the
Yeah,
point I was making.
it would. You'd have to query them.
Right. Yeah, because at the end of the day, I wasn't sure if they actually were using science or not. I did say that. Right.
Right. Right. Yep.
But yeah.
It's a fair point.
And if you find out they're fraudulent in their claims, you can say that you're traumatized by that, so they owe you compensation.
Um, I don't know.
Nathan, back
I don't
yet?
know.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, I've
Nathan,
been back a while. I've just been listening.
All right. Are you in main text? Can you go to main text chat?
In Discord? No,
Oh, you can't do it.
I didn't. Well, I'm not going to do it.
He can do it because I seen he wrote something in one of the text chats the other day.
It's one of the
Yeah,
things
on
that
my behalf.
It's one of the things that I don't do. So, the other day, coincidentally, somebody, the person who's in the chat now, that Rebecca, said that they were a member, and I'm like, I don't recognise your name. Who are you? You're a liar, lying glurf. Get out, lying glurf. And they're like, prove it. I'm like, oh, sorry. Actually, yeah, you are a member, and
Yeah.
I've been for a very long time.
So I'll try to describe what's going on here. So, and we're ironically talking about retard Rebecca. If you look at the last one, it's a conversation between her and Vaxwax. And the attachment that she's responding to is from Gemini. It's a screenshot posted. It says, that's correct. Elevation angles are right triangles. An elevation angle always forms a right triangle. Here's a breakdown. Elevation angle. This is the angle formed between the horizontal line and the line of sight to an object above the horizontal, and explains what a right triangle is. Okay? Her response. So what is the height of Polaris at 55-degree elevation angle? Funny, that is the same question I asked Frodothad in the previous thread, but I don't want you to get off on a tangent. This is what she says. If you keep going down the track of asserting a triangle in cell nav, you end up with one of two positions. Number one, you know the height of the star. What a clown you are. And number two, you duplicate what globers do with the horizon, the apparent position of the star, and measure a distance to a not actual location. Both are losing arguments. You retarded knuckle dragger. Come off, moot. This is what I'm talking about, Nathan.
That's not what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's associated with it. Other than idiot straw man and red herring fallacies.
Okay, the first one. Nobody's trying to get the height of the star. That's not its
But
purpose.
according to her, I'm sorry, according to her, once a right triangle is applied, then you must know the opposite. Continue.
I mean, that would be applicable in trig, would it not? That's true.
If somebody asked you to solve a right angle triangle, yes, but that's not what's happening here.
Yeah, that's why I say in trig, that would be true. If you were doing trig and someone said, well, you can solve for the opposite, you go, yeah, but we're not doing trig. We're doing celestial navigation. We're not trying to solve for the opposite, are we? What we're trying to do is find the distance to the GP. That's the purpose of the process.
I think she's trying to, by the sounds of it, she's saying you can't use the word triangle, is what she's saying, in discussing celestial navigation.
If you
Well, of course, you
suggested-
can't have a triangle because if you have a triangle, that proves Earth is flat.
No, it ipso
No,
facto,
she's a
it
she's
is a right
a-
angle triangle, right? And you are extrapolating out distance values after measuring Earth flat. But you're not calculating the opposite. You're measuring the baseline, which is the adjacent, and the hypotenuse, the angle of that, the two lines. That's what you're measuring. Now, there is 90 degrees to your position from the star. You're not trying to get the height of the star because you're not travelling to the star. You're travelling to the point below the star. That's all that you're interested in. Well, you're not travelling to it. You're utilising it to find your position. But you know what I mean? You're using it to essentially travel. That doesn't mean you need the height of the star. What functional use does it have? It doesn't. It's something they straw
well,
man
because
us
there's a
with.
right. Well,
They say
because there's a right angle triangle there. A Jedi mind tricked her into thinking, well, we must now solve for the opposite. Clown.
Not about what we do as flat earthers or a straw man into believing we must do as flat earthers. This is the process of celestial navigation. It doesn't require the opposite. It doesn't require the height of the star. It is, in practical application, utilising these angles measured off a flat earth. But because we don't assert the height, we must? Nah. You've got a height. Is that perhaps why it's being strawmanned onto us? I'm thinking yes. Because they've got two heights in this circumstance. They're heliocentric nonsensical heights derived from the flat earth angle measurements in the first instance for things like radial value. That's a set distance to things like the sun at 1 AU. And then they've got their, well, it'll need to be at an infinite distance to actually work with these angles off a flat earth on the equatorial plane in hell. Then they're infinite. And it's all light rays come in parallel, so we can move it to that centre point. But once we're in the centre point, once we're in hell, the angles to the lights, we just assume they're infinite. That's what the ballers would say. We don't assume anything. We don't have to. The process doesn't require it. Nothing to do with what we do either. We're just detailing what celestial navigation is. Like, well, you get the height. Where's that in celestial navigation? Well, you're a flat earther. Give me the height. Well, I'm not going to. Well, then it's failed. No, we've still got celestial navigation. Didn't matter that you didn't want to listen to it and want to just straw man me with the height. It's not part of the process.
How would you do trigonometry to a point that's agnostic to the elevation of the observer? Like, if you move up and down over a particular position, the angles don't change. So how would you do trigonometry to that?
Exactly. If you're going to assert that you've got a height to it after doing the calculations to get the opposite, it's like, well, another way of describing what you've just described is, well, you wait a few hours and it might reach the horizon. Is it crashing into the ground? Is its height 0? No. It's absurd. Likewise, like you just said, if you're going to raise an elevation and get the same angle, how can you in any way infer that its actual height is in any way tied to the measurement of the angle? It isn't. It's not needed. Who cares what it does? It's like, you're working outside the parameters of the method and challenging me on it. Like it matters what I say it could or couldn't do after the fact. Doesn't matter. I could extrapolate the height, but it still wouldn't be celestial navigation. It doesn't matter if I do or don't. The process is what it is. It's measuring a flat Earth. That's all there is to it.
I think some people can't let go of the idea that those lights are physical objects.
Yeah, but even in their rhetoric, they haven't got a set distance to them when they actually use celestial navigation. They've got it set as an infinite distance. Oh, well, that's still making a claim about it. I don't know if they're infinitely distant. Number one, infinite is a concept, but that's what they must describe it as. You're like, well, you don't have to. Until you start wrapping balls around centre points that you're measuring off equatorial planes to celestial spheres that are ipso facto conceptual in their infinite distance when you plot them in a big circle around a big ball, around a big plane that you're standing on. You're like, yeah, you've got to make a few assertions that contradict some of your other assertions. But I don't. As a flat earther, I can just point at the how and why Earth is being utilised flat and then leave it at that. I don't have to do anything else. But they've suddenly got this crazy idea that because they've got all sorts of unrealistic explanations for stuff, that somehow we've got to come up with them too. Well, I don't have to do that. Well, I don't feel any requirement just because you're telling me to either.
I can remember back when 10th Man was doing his pre-show stuff on all of this and looking into some of the navigational stars over the years in the concept, well, not celestial navigation, but the heliocentric idea. They changed the distance to the stars, and they've changed the distance to some of the navigational stars by significant amounts, like, you know, doubling or halving the number of light years to them. It's just, yeah, arbitrary.
Completely arbitrary because it makes sod all difference to where it's above on the ground. They're set in stone. You can track or predict, I should say. It's not really a prediction, but we've got a way of knowing the pattern. So we can say this is what it'll be 1,000 years from now. So the almanac is only necessary because there's subtle changes year on year. And they get marked down and you know where the sun, the moon, any of the navigation stars, where they're going to be above at given times. That's all you need. Flat Earth to measure and the stars above the ground at given times. That is it. What about the height? Doesn't actually need to be done. Why would we want it? Are we travelling to the stars? Oh yeah, of course you are. In your mind. So suddenly I've got to explain how high they are with a method that doesn't incorporate it. No.
No, according to retard Rebecca, you do because you use the right angle triangle.
Yeah, you do. Doesn't mean we can get the height.
You must be able to get the height. You use the right angle triangle.
I mean, if we were doing trig on a lighthouse, maybe, but we're talking about something that, in terms of their acquirable information that they can give us, we know where they're above at given times. That is it.
Mic check.
Hello.
That was
Hello.
excellent last night, QE. One of my favorites. You had been entertained.
Yeah, I went 2.5 hours straight. Wasn't that much fun when it was over.
It was hysterical, though. You in rare form.
Yeah, it was funny. I was listening the whole time, and I must admit there was various different points that I was laughing. It was very funny.
Well, they're the intellectuals of our day.
That's the funny part of it. They think they're intellectuals.
The only slight issue I had was, no offense to the guy that was debating them, right? He had moments of sheer class, I've got to be honest, right? Where you rewound and took it. Can you mute please, whoever that is? You Quantum Eraser. Anyway, you had to rewind because he denied having held him to task on what meteors were. He's like, you told me that I'd already made a conclusion on them. No. You're like, you liar. So you rewound and then said, look, you're either lying or stupid. I'm going to go with the latter. I'm like, well, the the guy who was up against the two of them held his own in that regard. Yeah, so that's a tick for this shit sandwich he's about to get. But then he appealed to Californication earlier on in the show. And I've got to be honest, your sentiment and tone utterly and completely echoed my sentiment at the other end of the iPad. I was rolling my eyes and going, oh, God, really? You're going to appeal to Californication because space is made in a Hollywood basement, according to some singer? What? This is your standard. You're just making yourself look absurd. Just say, I don't know. If you don't know why you don't believe in space, that's fine. Yeah? If anything, you get better credit from us if you just said that. I don't know. I don't know why I don't believe it. It's not, it doesn't, or even a loose, it doesn't have any reference to it in the Bible. And I just don't believe what men say. That would have been better than space is made in a Hollywood basement, say Red Hot Chili Peppers. So, yeah, there was massive woeful failings. In between that, there's points in the argument that you've covered in covering their discussion, if you will. If you want to call it that. Every time he had an objection, she'd be like, I'm gonna turn your line off. It's like, why? He's objecting perfectly reasonably. We deal with it every day. I won't harp on about that. But you would cover something that he hadn't. So the reason I bring up Californication is because in that moment, you're talking about the second law of thermodynamics. So from the quantum eraser side of this particular endeavour, you're unequivocally annihilating all aspects of their arguments. So they've got nothing to pool on moving forward. But then, because he hasn't done it in the moment, they're still going through it and you're having to make apologies on his behalf. It's like, look, I'm not indicting you for this, but we've already dealt with it. That is to say, QE's already dealt with this with the second law of thermodynamics and Gay-Lussac's law and Avogadro's law. And, you've gone through it all, but that didn't change what you were responding to. And I know that's always the case, but normally you can sort of, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Can you unpack what I'm trying to get across to you in terms of how if there's no semblance of what your rebuttal would have contained if you were there to expand on it, literally, if there's not even an ounce of it, it's a bit disjointed and incoherent when you're responding to them, and they're carrying on indefinitely along those lines and talking about bleeding Tunguska. You're like, have you actually researched this? Meanwhile, you've got to constantly reiterate the second law of thermodynamics violation, as opposed to the straw man that they're continuing to argue about indefinitely. So from that perspective, yes, you were on fine form, but it was kind of frustrating to listen to, I won't lie.
Yeah, they kept rehashing the same old thing, right? So what am I to do?
Well, there's nothing you could do other than reiterate your point time and time again. But in other response videos, if it's an anti-flat earth or flat earth video for the sake of argument, we kind of know where it's going to go. So as we're responding to it, we might preemptively suggest what might come or take bets on it, in jest. Just see what I mean? So the flow of the response will typically tally with what's actually in the video. But for you couldn't keep it in check because the poor opponent, unfortunately, I hate to say it, that's why I'm a bit hesitant, but you should know why space is fake and why the dome is something that he said he would stand by or believed in based on what the Bible said after discussing Rakia and the firmament. You're like, okay, well, you either stop there and, put your hands in the air when you can't back it, which takes a lot of humility when you're in a debate and you're trying to win, or learn why you'd need to be in a contained system. But he didn't give you anything. Literally, he gave you nothing. There was not a shred of anything for you to get your teeth into on that, was there?
No.
That's hard.
He did do,
for you.
like you said, he did do a good job. I particularly enjoyed after I did the scientific proofs of the creator and functional sequence specify complexity. He did put that table and food out in the wood line. I thought that was a really nice move.
Oh, the guy's response was epic as well, wasn't it? He said something like, there has to be a human, like an intelligent intervention. I can't remember what he said, but as soon as he said it, I clapped. And you stopped the video like, way to snatch your own wig off. Exactly. But yeah, I was clapping when he said it. But And again, that was equally frustrating because he doesn't know, does he? He doesn't know what he's just done. And the guy's not telling him, yeah, you've just made my point for me. Well done. Now you're doing it. Again, he's not leaving you with enough from your side of the fence to get your teeth into the response video. But like I say, when he said it, what was it he said? The Baltard in this instance, the guy, when he's like, no, you've got to have someone to lay the table or something like that.
Yeah, something to the effect that in all of history, that's all we know is that a human had to do it or something to that effect, right?
He essentially affirmed that there'd have to be an intelligent intervention at some stage for that occurrence to have happened. And you're like, that's the guy's point. Yeah, not something from nothing, something from a creator, because there has to be one, like you've just confirmed in the example reiterated by your opponent. So you lose. But Dunning-Kruger rules. He doesn't know how stupid he's just been. He doesn't know he snatched his own wig off, so on they plough. It's just like, wow.
Showtime, Nathan.
It is, isn't it? Good job you reminded me.
Let's get it on.
Good afternoon.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, good morning.
Go, baby.
Very enthusiastic. Good to have it. So we've been discussing some of the rebuttals that we've had. So over the weekend, I released a video from the politics server, a trimmed out section of it, where I combined the two guys that were chatting at once, of course, one white knight, one that I was actually debating with, about the apologies being made for the Earth being measured flat, and the justification thereafter being, oh, well, it's because it's so big. Now, the apologetics is something that I'm trying to educate the flat earthers in ignoring and focusing on how Earth is actually measured. And for the last 7 months, I've been saying, there's going to come a time in this year where our opponents will be telling us this. They're not going to like it, but they have been saying it for 10 years. We've just been focused on the apologetics and our predisposition to argue with their, well, that's because it's a big ball. Flat earthers here, big ball, and then argue with that, rather than Earth measured flat. But only because it's a big ball. That bit can be ignored. Their apologetics doesn't have any grounding. It doesn't have any validity. It doesn't have any justification beyond their belief. But what did they actually do? And that's contained within the video I've just released over the weekend, called Globers losing their mind because they measure Earth flat, or something to that effect. It's got a picture of a woman screaming, "Big balls are flat!" in the thumbnail. So check it out. Lots of people have. It's been a very popular video. It's had lots and lots of comments, which is always good. And one of them was Where's Wally? Saying, yeah, of course we can measure Earth flat, because it's a big ball. But that don't mean the flat bit in the UK matches with the flat bit in America. That's what he's saying. Yeah, share your pain. Yeah, we know Earth's measured flat, and the apologies after the fact can be ignored. Because we'll go with the measurements rather than your apologetics for why it wouldn't be ball-shaped. I mean, if you've got some ball-shaped measurements, we'll have a look at them. Oh, we did and debunked them in 2020. What are we left with? Well, just flat Earth measurements. And that's about all, because it's required to be measured that way. I mean, you can apologise for how ball-shaped it isn't afterwards, but I'll just take as read that it's measured flat and point that out to you and hope that other flat earthers will follow suit. Which is to say, you will point out to your opponent when they tell you it's measured flat, because they will, because it is. You'll just hold them to that. Okay, well, I'm happy to accept what you've said. Earth measured flat. No, I also said because it's a really big ball. Yeah, and you're entitled to your belief. I'll just go with the measurements of a flat Earth. Well, the other bit over the other side of the ball that I assume isn't definitely matching this flat bit that we're measuring that's locally flat. So we measure it locally flat. Okay. Yeah, there's no ball measurements anymore. The ones that were claimed to be measurements were calculations and extrapolations from flat Earth surface level. Earth's flat. This is how we dealt with it. Forever. Everyone. And it's never changed either.
But what?
Good.
But why ain't they getting the fact that there are no flat surfaces on a sphere? They pulled that with QE last night too on the video. Earth too biggie, unless you're a giant, 10,000 feet, like the other moron said.
I don't care what they say. So your argument is, we're going to measure this item flat, but it isn't because I'm not a giant. Yeah, we just measured it flat, didn't we? Yeah, but I'm not a giant. That's lovely. Ruffles hair. On you go. Yeah, but it's a really, really big ball. That's why we measure it flat. Oh, bless. You think you're on a really big ball, do you? Yeah, but we do measure it flat. So that's the bit that's important. You can keep your belief about it being a really big ball as a justification after measuring it flat. But we measure it flat. And everybody better start getting used to this fact. Because it hasn't changed. I was just about to say before Neil jumped in. Nothing's changed. We've been measuring it flat forever. And the ball reification comes from those measurements. So they can back engineer the ball reification into an actual working, functional measurement of the ground with respect to the sky. Flat. But nothing's changed. It always was. That's why our opponents have started saying it. So only when you spot it, and it takes, no offense to anybody else on the panel, but someone like me to come along and say, hey, look, they've always been telling you it's flat. Because it is. Now, why am I labouring this rather than even getting into any housekeeping? Because in my humble opinion, this is the key. If your opponent already agrees with you that Earth is flat and that's how they'll be measuring it, but only because it's a really big ball, agree. You can keep your it's only a big ball, I'm not a giant argument, because it's not substantiatable in any way, shape or form, but the measurements are measurements, and that bit's flat. So people will start waking up to this fact if we run with this argument. We debunked the measurements of a ball in 2020. That was absolutely critical. We couldn't be on this step now if it wasn't for the black swan. But here we are. There's no globe, earth curve, whatever you want to call it, measurements. There's no R value measurement spherical either. Only flat. Thank you for that, Humble. I would suggest you just keep your mic wide open, Humble. Thanks for that. That's right at my crescendo, by the way, right at the end of my point. Humble's complete audio chaos comes through the top of it. Nothing's changed. Earth's always been measured flat for everyone. Yeah, start getting your proponents to take us through the measurements of Earth, the actual ones. They can't claim spherical measurements. Their derivation of R came from flat Earth measurements in the first instance. Earth's measured flat. For them, and us, and everyone, always, and always has been.
Isn't life great?
It's as if you're a flat earther and you've relinquished that pain a long time ago. Go ahead.
To answer your question, it's because their belief in a sphere is more important to them than logical consistency.
It's not logically consistent to say I measure Earth flat, but it isn't because I'm not a giant.
Because you're not a giant, that proves Earth is a globe.
But they've just measured it flat. So it's not proving that they're a globe, it's proving they're delusional and suggests that an apology for why it's not measured globe-shaped, factually measured flat by their own admission, is because they're not a really big giant on a really little ball. Therefore, it's going to be measured flat. And it's just measured flat. A complete and utter impossibility if you're on a ball. Never will a ball be measured flat. Ever. But we will measure Earth flat because it's measured flat. Like I've been saying for 7 months that we've been saying it. Now, massive props to people like QE and Bible Literalist. I listened to her most recent video. It might have not been the most recent, but a recent video from her. And it needs retitling because it's an excellent summary of the current circumstances for flat earthers. With celestial navigation and the debunking with the black swan. All of that's in her video. Go and check it out. Bible U is the name of the channel. Really good video, by the way, Paula, if you're listening. Very good summaries that people on our own side are starting to get to grips with. I'm not suggesting that QE should be someone or Paula should be someone that needs to be, quote, getting to grips with this. But I'm saying that I'm hearing it here, there, and everywhere. And it's concise. People have got it quickly and then have gone, I can use this concise summary to undo all aspects of my opponent's argument. I mean, if there's a cherry on top, it will be them telling me it's measured flat afterwards. It's epic. It's only taken 7 months, but it's starting to happen. I'm really pleased. 8 months, we're in August now, aren't we?
And Nathan, it's not just measurements, it's observations as well. They'll say, oh, yes, we observe it because we observe flat because it's so biggy. And then they'll also say that, oh, yes, we navigate it flat because it's easier to navigate with flat maps instead of pulling globes out of your pockets. So they'll agree with observations, measurements, and navigation.
Yeah. And over time, like I say, that's why I think this is so important. If you've already got an acceptance through understanding of how Earth is measured flat, and then your belief leads you to justify why it wouldn't be, you're halfway there. You've already accepted what the world actually is and how it functions, how it operates, how it's measured. And then you will appreciate that after that, you're making apologetics for your belief. And that's all it is. So if, as it is the case, all Earth measurements will always reference what it actually is, makes sense, and that's flat, then there's a very little barrier between those who are currently under the misapprehension and belief that they're on a ball to actually step into the reality of the world we deal with. Because in terms of what we do, it's never changed. How we survey, how we navigate, how we fly, none of it's ever changed. It's always been flat. The world didn't roll itself up into a ball when whoever decided that they're going to impose heliocentrism on the world decided. The world still had to function as it always has functioned, and that is flat. So I don't think there's a big step away from this belief structure. Maybe that's why there's such a massive pushback against us, because it is so frail, it's so tentatively held together. It's a precarious system that it just takes one little blink of an eye and you're going, oh yeah, of course, I always knew it was flat. So it's measured. Because it is. Yeah, if you're out there and you're listening and you've gone, oh yeah, actually I did take a foray into this argument, and yeah, it left my opponent stuttering and stammering and not really knowing what to do with themselves when they told me it was measured flat, then maybe let us know. Be good to hear it, and hopefully encourage others when they say, yeah, it is a very easy argument once you get your head around it. Earth's measured flat, and that's how it's mapped, navigated, flown on, built on. Easy. You all agree? It's an easy argument to wrap your head around. It's only been 7 months. 4 years for the Black Swan for some people. Modus tollens isn't that simple when you look at it. It's a logical consistency. Earth being measured flat, that's not a logical consistency. That's just a statement of fact. Very easy to understand.
Well, because they'll do it for you. So, yeah, you haven't even got to do anything.
Yeah. If you're skilled enough, you can get your opponent to commit seppuku. Fall on their own sword and say, yeah, it's measured flat, but it's only because it's really big. Yeah, check
Slightly
that
off
out.
Tangent, but that short you made where the guy, where you edited perfectly his stuttering ute to, that is hilarious, by the way.
Well, I use that as the intro. So there's 3 guys in total that were from the politics server in quick succession. One guy that was just rude and swore at us a lot. And I edited that today as well. I've just released that to members. But when I was listening to it back, I'm like, it sounded as I was listening to it back, like I'm instigating this guy because I'm swearing at him. And then it suddenly dawned on me, no, I've been there 2 hours and the guy had been interjecting, white knighting, trolling and swearing the entire time. So when it got to his actual bit where he gets the mic handed to him by a moderator of the server, it's like, okay, well, you've been messing me around while I've been trying to have decent conversation with various other people. So that's why I was a bit sweary. But I thought, well, sod it. It's my edit. I'll edit out all of my swears until the point that he gets annoyed and the tone of the swearing is very, very different. There's a distinct point where he starts effing and blinding at me in frustration because he's getting told off because he hasn't been listening. So his interjections came in while I'm discussing with another guy. Moreover, he's apologising for how flat Earth can be measured. And this guy's, the same guy that I edited today, is poking his head into this discussion going, how else would you measure it? Yeah, flat. Yeah, you're right, mate. How else would you? But in their mind, oh, it's okay to measure it flat because I've apologised for how ball-shaped it isn't afterwards. So that's all cool, right? We're all good. Well, hopefully flat Earthers prick your ears up. No, it isn't. No, we'll just accept how it's measured. Measured flat, you say. I'm good with that. Have you got any measurements that aren't flat? That like ball-shaped, that back your belief that you've spewed afterwards that had no justification for it? Because if not, all we've got is the flat Earth measurement bit, isn't it? You telling me it's just a really big ball and that's why it's measured flat. Anyway, that and him and another guy that was admittedly from a couple of weeks ago who was talking about surveying, all 4 of them got chopped together in a minute and a half intro. And that became a shorts video and a TikTok video. And also, the extended version was the intro to that 10-minute video. And the outro, after the music, has got that same guy. You can utilize the flat Earth. It's fine. It's flat enough. Flat enough on a curve? I'm thinking no. But they want it to be flat enough, end quote, to get a measurement that requires it to be flat. It's like, well, it requires Earth to be flat, I'm afraid. So that's the end of your argument. It doesn't matter about your apologies. But all them got edited together. Check it out. You'll notice the thumbnail. It's got some bawling woman saying all balls are flat or something like that.
You know, Nathan, when that video opens up, it is a flat earther you're talking to.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, he was trying to play like devil's advocate. Well, he said he was.
Which one?
The one where the guy's talking about building on it. Yeah, well, in certain amounts, got to be flat.
Yeah. In either event, Neil, it is the rhetoric of their absolute requirement to measure Earth flat. Now, the fact that someone's come up that you're saying is a glurf posing as a flat earther or the other way around is kind of irrelevant. The point is the same. We do measure Earth flat, and the apologetics from the ball side is to say it's just flat enough to utilise that in that small local area. I've got Wally in the comments saying the exact same thing. Yeah, the UK is flat, but that flat ground isn't the same flat ground as the States. But it's okay to measure it locally flat, says Where's Wally. They already know it. Like I say, this is... If your actual motivation is to be a flat earth evangelist, you should be all over this. Because this is what this does. Me, I'm not a flat earth evangelist. Yes, I run a flat earth debate show. Yes, I talk about it all day long. But that doesn't make me a flat earth evangelist, believe it or not. Other people are far more keen to convert others into this belief. Me, yeah, believe what you like. I'll tell you how it is until you get stroppy with me, and then I'll tell you off, because it's very entertaining to an audience, and they get to learn how flat earth is. Go ahead, Neil.
I'm just laughing, but circles of equal altitude kill it. Elevation kills it. Elevation to what? They're done.
Any elevation requires a flat earth.
Nautical miles is...
Sorry, Endless, go ahead.
I mean, 10,000 nautical miles is, I guess, locally flat if you compare it to the infinite equatorial plane. 10,000 miles does sound kind of local.
It kind of sounds local to exactly. You get to the edge of the equatorial plane and you might be plotting out stars that are considered southern hemispherical in their globe model. But you're plotting it out on the extended celestial plane, all flat. So you've got half of them in the northern territories flat with respect to the stuff in the southern. Like, none of it makes sense on a ball, because it can't make sense. When it's measured flat, it's measured flat. When it's functionally flat, it's functionally flat. How do we deal with it? Flat. It makes no odds how they extend out planes that are inside hell. Like, that plane inside hell is where you're actually measuring, and you're not inside hell. You're on a flat plane. Just a very, very, very big flat plane. Shout out to Daniel Samaniego, who says, latitude is very easy to understand. All flat earthers need to utilize it.
That's funny.
Very good. Elevation angle measurement to Polaris. Yeah, it is. It is simple, Daniel. I completely agree. And that got such a good laugh. I'm going to give it a heart. That was really funny. Utilize it flat. That don't mean it ain't. Yeah, it
Can you
doesn't.
just imagine the embarrassment that guy was like? If that was me, I would die of embarrassment.
No, he'll be on next week saying the same thing to somebody else. They don't care.
Yeah, because they've got the consensus behind them. For somehow, it gives them a humility shield. I don't know how it works, but you can say the dumbest thing possible, and there's seemingly no consequences because the consensus won't ridicule them for it. We make a spelling error, and suddenly, well, look at these idiots! Told you, a bunch of conspirators. It's like, I made a spelling error. What are you talking about?
Well, that's a pretty good assessment. Humility shield. You're right about that.
think it's cognitive dissonance. So when they hear their argument defeated, or we suspect that because their mic's been closed long enough for the words to actually come out unimpeded, that means they've heard it. No, it means the audience has got to hear it unimpeded once in 10 attempts. But does that mean that they've concentrated enough to actually focus on the problem with their argument that's come across them on the 10th attempt? That they happen to have either been server moderated by someone that isn't me? Just in case someone wants to say, it's only because you mute people. What, that the 10th attempt at obfuscating their losing battle, defeat, was obfuscated? It was me muting them. No. Now that I'm in nice, neutral, actual neutral territories where I don't control the server, by about the 6th attempt, the server moderators have had enough too, as you would expect, and they mute the person. Now, initially when I was in there, they'd be like, you're muting, and I'm like, this isn't my server. Yeah, you're chanting through it, so you don't have to hear it. And when you do hear it, you'll rinse and repeat. This was my point, Neil. Humility shield? No, cognitive dissonance. Gets to the end of the argument, they've been defeated, they don't acknowledge it, and then they repeat the argument again. Like, this hasn't been undone with coherency and logic. I'll just say it again. Ideally, ask you something. Thanks again for the super chat, Daniel. Anyway, we're almost off. We're like 22 minutes into the show already. It's like we've only just started, and there's 90 people watching. Seems like we only started 10 seconds ago. Great. Well, I've actually got something to cover today. So over the weekend, I don't know why. I think they've just figured out the addictive plot that TikTok figured out a few years back. But YouTube have got shorts videos, which while I have been publishing for many years, I've never really necessarily got hooked on. Whereas I am now. I love it. Flicking through shorts videos, deciding it's crap within 2 to 3 seconds, flicking it on, and then potentially spending 25 to 45 seconds actually watching a video that someone's produced and put a lot of effort into making it short. So anyway, one of those videos was from a videographer that I have seen my daughter, eldest daughter, watching. She's a bit of an artist. This guy's called DonnoDraws, and we have actually covered him once before, actually, so you might be familiar with him if you've seen the show. I will, as always, ask you to let this videographer know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Now, although he does mention flat earthers, by the time I'd clipped this link and put it into one of my own Skype chats to remind me to cover it on Monday, today, I'd already decided that I was covering it before he mentions flat earthers in this, which I didn't know he was going to do. So I listened to the first 10 seconds, say, and went, oh, I'm definitely going to cover this on Monday. Clipped the link, put it in one of the Skype chats, came back and went, well, I better listen to what he's actually got to say about flying hippos, because that's the name of the video. And then, literally, as soon as I clicked it again, he was talking about flat earthers. I was like, oh, what a weird coincidence. And then he bobbles off track on the actual video topic. But I'm going to preface it, because it is very, very short to get my point across. So I'm going to sort of labour the point as a summary in advance of the video. Then I'll play it, and then I'll reiterate it again after the fact. What he's talking about in this is what I consider to be our main battle since Flat Earth debate started. What is that battle? Well, it's a battle with pseudoscience. It's a battle with pretender clowns utilising the empirical nature of the scientific method and suggesting that they've got that validity. Now, the influence of that en masse is realised in the words of this videographer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the video, and then hopefully I'll pause at the right moment and we can discuss. And the point will be clear once I've played it.
Hippos can fly according to science? Listen, I'm not any sort of super genius, and I usually agree with science. Science says I take a certain drug and my cough goes away? Sure. Science says if I drink bleach I die? Thanks a bunch. Science says the earth is round? Sounds good to me. Apparently not some people, but I'm fine. But now...
Okay, hopefully that few seconds is enough for people to get the general gist of why I'd want to cover this video. So he opens up by saying, if science says X, then great. If science says Y, then great. If science says don't do Z, then wonderful. And if science says Earth's a sphere, that's terrific too. Unlike flat earthers who obviously don't like listening to science. Okay. Now, if it wasn't absolutely obvious to regular members of the show and regular audience, can anybody tell me what's wrong with that?
It's a category error. It's not science. Measurement is not science.
Right. So, in his mind, if science says take this pill, you take the pill. If science says jump off the cliff, you jump off the cliff. It's good for you if science says so. Science is a method of establishing the cause of a naturally occurring phenomena. Now, let's just pick one of them. Let's pick the shape of the Earth. Is the shape of the Earth, not the way we deal with Earth as a plane, that's an aspect, is the shape of the Earth, by reification, a cause and effect relationship?
No.
So, as rightly pointed out, it's a category error. But why is this guy in the misapprehended view that science saying anything would be something that he needs to concern himself with? Well, it's because lots of charlatans have taken the empiricism aspect of science and imposed it on their words by using things like saying experiment, saying theory, saying science, saying experiments when you've got group studies, saying experiments when you've got consensus, saying theory when you've got an idea about something as opposed to the outcome of a scientific experiment. They use these words to imply that things that they say have been proven, because that's what science does with cause and effect relationships. Proves the outcome. Either your independent variable supposition of cause causes the phenomena you're studying, or it does not. But one of those two statements can only be the outcome. Therefore, you will validate one or other of them. Ergo, science is empirical. But if you just want to say, Earth's a banana, why? Science says Earth's a banana. Oh, okay. Well, if science says Earth's a banana, it's been proven. No. It doesn't matter how big my white coat is, how thick my name badge is, and how gaudy, awful my spectacles are. That's not science. Science is a method. Now, if you've been through the method, you'll have an empirical outcome for the question you asked after observing something occur in nature. None of what he's covering is science. But that's as a result of the Western world indoctrination and use of... Use is probably a too soft a word. The rape of the word science and the methodology and the empiricism that it actually offers. This is the outcome of that rape. I don't think we need much more from it, but you can have a listen just in case there is anything.
This hippos flying is where I draw the line. Apparently, researchers claim that this video is proof that hippos fly. I feel like...
Okay, yeah, I do actually remember what he's covering here. So, the video of the hippo, when running, having all 4 feet off the ground, is considered or defined as flight. And he's saying, I'm not having that. It's like you'll present a cartoon of a ball that you could never possibly see because the claim to be pictures, not that your cartoon was, come from a second law of thermodynamics violation. So it couldn't ever be the case that you would have any pictures of what you believe when it comes to a ball because science says. But when science, not that that's actually what's going on here, shows you a hippo with all 4 feet off the ground, ipso facto, even if it's only for a fraction of a second, they want to call that flight, but you won't accept that. You might think, why are you defending this, Nathan? Why would you defend the fact that he's going against the idea that hippos fly because they have all 4 feet off the ground? It's like, well, you're talking about semantics, how things can be defined. This has an air of ambiguity in it. And you've got a visual demonstration to argue about. Unlike Earth as a sphere from a sky vacuum, represented by cartoon by this guy. Like, that's very different standards. TVH says, let's just put it up on screen. Hello, Nathan. I enjoy every moment you spoke to Matthew Learns recently. You cracked me up laughing again. You deserve my support. Thank you, Mr. Legend. Wow, very complimentary. Thank you very much indeed, TVH. I actually got it in the neck for my treatment of Matthew because I was calling for his head in employment terms, and I was told that that's deeply unreasonable. And I actually agreed. I'm like, this shouldn't come into the subject. If I'm going to argue that people shouldn't be going after Brian Mullen's job, then it's unreasonable for me to do the same, even though, like the people who would go after Brian Mullen, I feel justified when this teacher is teaching and caught out multiple times as an overt liar, a deceiver. in my mind, personally, I feel justified in suggesting that man shouldn't be teaching anybody. But that's not the subject we cover. Therefore, I personally have overstepped the bounds of flat earth debate and what we stand for here. And I had to accept that when someone pointed it out to me. So as much as I'm getting praise for you, I'm going to put a caveat in there. And thank you very much for the super chat. Right, I think we're done with DonnoDraws. Like I say, it wasn't going to be a particularly massive amount of coverage today, but I will invite you all to let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and I am going to put the chat up so you can see exactly what I'm doing. The idea being that if DonnoDraws was to respond, he would put a link to our video and help us along in the YouTube algorithm, where we receive absolutely no algorithmic love from YouTube whatsoever. Quite the contrary. Our opponents are stuffed up to the top of the lists, and we are never to be found. So please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Hopefully he'd put a response and a link to my video if he was to do one. Leave a nice comment, don't swear.
You know, I just think that the only reason why he said something like that is because it's an easy dunk for a quick laugh. You know, I mean.
Yeah, I get it. And I'm not, in a way, I'm not indicting him. I'm saying he's the product of the indoctrination and the lies that we all have to suffer when it comes to bullshitting about science. People saying that you can offer up a scientific validity for a non-cause and effect based claim is instantly, as I think it was you that said, a category error. But because we're all taught what science is in high school, we all get a really good understanding of how and why it proves things. But because it's so a stage in our lives that we're so young, you quickly forget the majority of what you're taught and just remember that it's proving things. So when someone else comes along and uses some of the vernacular of science, your mind remembers that you're proving things when that word's used. So this is the end result of it. You know, it's not like I'm blaming him and saying, you're the reason that the kids today think science is assertion of shape. No. Now, we could berate him for his stupidity in that regard, but why bother? It's like, he's a good example of, you know, how deluded people are when it comes to the cause and effect reasoning, the methodology that offers the empiricism that's being hijacked to say Earth has shape. That's not a cause and effect statement and isn't something that could even be put through the scientific method. But you're claiming that science has told it you and you're just happy to accept it based on your belief? That's useful to me. It really does demonstrate where we are in society. Any other
That's
news?
sad.
So,
No, it's just they need to learn the scientific method, you know? I'm just, sorry.
Yeah. Well, I've been banging that drum for as long as QE's been here. And it is I said it was the most important thing that we do. Because so long as people are still under the misapprehension that anything that's, quote, science says is to be taken literally and accepted carte blanche without any assessment, then the Western world's going to be very easy to manipulate forever. Keep teaching them that science does prove, show them how it proves so they know it proves, maybe show them something pop in a test tube so it really imprints on their brain. Send them out into the world 10 years later when they're being told, here comes the science part in a Timotei shampoo advert. They'll go, oh, that's definitely give me the silkiest of hair. Science. No, that's not science, that's marketing. But because they said the word, it's been proven. Definitely not. But like I say, that's our raison d'etre, that's our reason to be here, to let people know how they've been deceived. It's a massive part of how people got onto a ball. When we arrived, what did they tell us? Quote, the whole body of science proves we are on a ball, end quote. Fast forward 10 years. There isn't any science. They were in a category error the whole time. And that is unilaterally applicable to lots of things. Sorry, Duncan, go ahead.
Sorry, and of course, science doesn't prove things either now.
That's an extremist swing. So people who are led to believe science is proving everything and have been taught that it does, and then they've been lied to about what's applied to those words, when they find out that what was being applied to those words wasn't empirically validated, they don't necessarily learn why it wasn't science when they claimed it was. They just throw the baby out with the bathwater. Well, science has lied to us then. No, you're equally guilty of a reification. Science has no lips. It can't tell you the Earth's a ball, and it can't lie to you. But if you want to go to the other end of the scale and say, science is now the enemy, what, this method is are you nuts? But that's what extremists do. They swing too far the other way. That's us. That's flat earthers doing that. Not us per se, us specifically, but flat earthers do that. They swing too far the other way when they find out that science has quote unquote lied to them. Science can't lie. It has no lips. The people who lied to you didn't follow the method. That's got sod all to do with science. They claimed it and didn't have it. That's what actually happened. So blame the man, the one who claimed he had science when he didn't. Don't infer that there's a reification from your side of this discussion where science has now lied to you and you can relabel it as scientism. No, they never had it to begin with. If they claim that they did, it was automatically pseudoscience if they hadn't put it through the method. So just define things correctly. Most things that are claimed to be science can't even be put through the method. It's just a buzzword that means I've proven this honest.
It's the ballers that have done that. When they first come out and said, must deny all of science and all of physics to believe in a flat earth. 3 years later and on, science doesn't prove things.
Yep.
Not saying that flat earthers aren't guilty of it, but it's the ballers. It's the same ones that said, well, science proved it. That's the chicanery, knuckleheadery.
Oh God, you're going to keep using that word that's in my book, aren't you? You've got it you've got it in your vocab now, and that's it.
Yeah.
You're going to read this word when my book comes out and go, isn't that QE? No, it isn't. The rest of the quotes that are around stuff that don't specifically cite as being QE, yes, those are QE bits. He gets no credit, but there are quotes around them. Chicanery ain't one of them.
It's a great word.
Thanks. It was actually my publisher that put that word in. Shouldn't take any credit. But like anything, if you're out there, Chuck, yeah, I just steal credit. That's how it goes.
He just used it because it started with CH.
I was in his presence when he wrote it down, amending things that I had actually said. So basically that makes it mine. He was amending my stuff when he came up with that word. Now it's mine. You can't have it. Yeah. I stole it first. Anyway, yeah, so this is it. This is chicanery in terms of the globe earth rhetoric, saying we've got science and then decrying it outright and wholesale after we point out that they haven't. And I remember when that crumbled, it was about 7 years ago, and they started throwing people like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Brian Cox under the bus every time they said something that we could demonstrably show was pseudoscience. Well, we don't stand with him. You don't stand with the high priest, Tyson? No, he doesn't stand. He doesn't represent me. He's your high priest. Yeah, but I want to piss in the face of this globe earth rhetoric because you've got me over a barrel as a flat earther. So as an anti-flat earther, I reserve the right to relinquish all globe earth claims just to get the win here. And if that means throwing Tyson under the bus in the sake of science, then I'll do it. No worries. They're all little Judases. Is it Judas? I always get that wrong. They're more than happy to betray their leaders.
Plural of Judas is Judasai.
Judasai? Yeah, but is it
No,
Judas, biblically speaking, that would be betraying their priest? Yes, Nathan, your biblical knowledge is exemplary. Oh, well, thank you. It's good to hear. Was there anything else exciting over the weekend? There's QE shows to watch if you're watching this live and you need something to dig into. His show yesterday was hilarious, very good, very entertaining. Had its ups and downs in terms of the stuff he's actually responding to, but QE was on ripe form. Very good indeed. What was that show called, QE?
Can't remember.
I'm surrounded by amateurs. Just have a guess. It's your show. Have a little guess.
Something
just to
to do
keep
with
the
that
blood
line?
going.
Can't have a guess at the name of the show. 1 second.
Well, be
Kiwi
here or be
Live.
sphere for you can't have a guess because it doesn't help the flow of this plug for your channel.
Yeah. It's QE Live, The Treatment, Matt Dillahunty, Doofus, and Eric GG, Goober Gibbons. But she had a name change during the show. You'll figure it out.
Am I saying this word wrong? Tunguska.
No, I think it's right. It was hard because I was saying it so many times and it was twisting my tongue because there was too many T's.
Too many T's in Tunguska. There you go. I've messed it up already.
It was the Tunguska Tessie, the titillating tales of a twat.
So yeah, they got off on this red herring fallacy after the guy unfortunately didn't undo space sky vacuums by saying it's a second law of thermodynamics violation. QE did it in the response video, but they then carried on this little winding non sequitur road of whether or not we've got meteors. Now, I'm skeptical. This guy was skeptical, and he would have given almost identical answer to what I think I would have given. I don't make a claim about it. I don't have enough information about it. So I don't know. It's the best I can give you, which is what he gave him. The next thing you know, the host's holding him to task. You can't make baseless assertions about what meteors are. If I was sat there, I'd be like, what the hell? I didn't. I said, I don't know. Well, holding me to task on what I've claimed about them. But nevertheless, this co-host lady starts taking him down this line of, we know we've had impacts. We've got the stuff from the impacts. From inside the craters, like at Tunguska. So Kiwi's like, oh yeah, let's have a little look at Wiki. Tunguska's supposed to be an air detonation of a claim to be meteorite, or whatever they've said it is in their terminology, that's flattened a load of crops, but left no crater. Very specifically left no crater. But this is this red herring fallacy for alleged rocks from the sky vacuum, with the opponent not having debunked the sky vacuum, and the pro-force for the meteors coming from sky vacuum saying that Tunguska's given them an impact crater back when we had video in the 1800s. Was it 1800s? Probably a bit later.
It was
than that.
1908.
1908. There you go.
And everyone saw it, and there was a film of it from the middle of Siberia in 1908.
Blew out all the windows in this deserted area with no people in it. That's the problem with being a Billy bullshitter, isn't it? I've fell victim to that. You get it is Dunning-Kruger, and we can all occasionally fall victim to it. You get a limited amount of information, and then you roll with it. And before you know it, you're on a live stream talking about the craters at Tunguska, and how many people have watched it, and how many windows have been blown out. It's like, nah, I think you're confusing A-bomb propaganda videos with a recreation of Tunguska. So no love, but you've extrapolated that into, yeah, you got rocks from a crater that didn't ever exist and wasn't there and isn't documented as being there. Dunning-Kruger.
So therefore, sky vacuum.
Therefore, sky vacuum, in her mind. Well, she's not having to respond to that, though. The opponent didn't put it. QE only said that in the response. I was moaning in the pre-show saying it was a difficult task for QE because normally we lead with the person we're responding to because we know roughly where we're going to go with it, or they're going to go, more importantly, because we've been doing it so long. In this instance, the guys on the flat earth, if you like, the Christian side of flat earth, is not undoing things that QE needs to lead in with to make his arguments coherent with what he's pressing play on. So it was a hard job that QE had. But fortunately, to counteract that, QE was very funny. So it didn't really matter because he kept making me laugh. So the frustration of what he's responding to was faded into obscurity after he delivered a cracking line based on what they'd said or how stupid it was. It was very funny. It was a good show yesterday. I really enjoyed listening to that, as did my wife.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, Flat Earth has turned from, I'd say, maybe a documentary or a debate into just a comedy now.
As we're doing shout-outs for videographers, I tend to find myself watching quite a lot of PJ Cruikshank in the morning. For some reason, he goes live quite early, and I tuned in today's knows who I am, so it made me a mod, and I just happened to say to him, like I did at the beginning of this live show, check out my latest video. You know, Glober's going nuts after measuring Earth flat, And he did a full response to it this morning. So big thank you to you. You didn't have to do that because I'd suggested you just watch the first 90 seconds, which you guys were talking about, that edit. You to utilize it flat. Well, that's all I was intending him to maybe check out or direct his audience, to check out. But instead he did a full reaction video and he played the whole lot. Shout out to you, PJ. Hopefully one of my mods will stick a link to your video and you'll get a few subscribers. Not that I'm saying it's like payment in response to you doing that, but, you know, hopefully people going along. I've been enjoying watching you in the morning, so I'm sure others will too. Although I do suspect an undertone of Mandela with you, PJ. We'll get to that some other time. Sorry.
Did you notice Delahunty's tactic he employed many, many times was the proving non-existence and shifting the burden of proof? Idiot.
On the video you did yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you did a good job of identifying it every time it happened. You explained my claim that I've not got into. Again, you did it with her. That Tunguska one was actually an example of that. She's demanding that he explains why there's an impact crater. It's like, this incorrect garbage you just spewed is your claim, love. And I'm kind of paraphrasing what you were doing in a very good way in that regard. Like I say, the fact that you've done it and I can now summarize it means that you were dodging these meteorites that were coming thick and fast, because what's your point in all of this, QE? There is no sky vacuum for meteors to come from, but you're having to still fight within that framework that they're arguing in. Like I say, you did a really good job, I felt. Sorry to keep complimenting you, but it's just, when I'm listening to you do those responses, I think to myself, man, I'd be so screwed here, because I'd be letting the video play out, and because I've already dealt with it, what would I say? I've dealt with this 5 more times. Whereas somehow you managed to incorporate it into a few laughs and reiterate your point of sky vacuums. Yes, you did say I've dealt with this a couple of times, but what else can you do when you've got literally nothing to get your teeth into? Anyone else watch QE yesterday? Did you all enjoy it? 119 people watching. Hopefully we'll get a... that was the video that Paula's... I've talked about your video today, if you've just joined us, Paula. I was telling my audience how good it was. That map video. It needs a much better title, because sort of 50% of the way into the video you're summarizing everything we do really, really well. So give it a more catchy title. I can't even remember what the title is, and you're just calling it my map video. But there's more to it than your map. Some of the terms Paula used in that video, she's like, for some flat earthers, they have to explain this with magical portals. And she's saying it in such a way that there's not a hint of derogatory tone in what she's saying, but I can still detect it. You know what I mean? It's still, I'll put it in one of my comments, even if it's not there as a tone. I'm going to make note of it in a comment then. Magical portals. But yeah, there is some crazy flat earth explanations out there that I'd forgotten about, and Paula was highlighting in that video, what she's calling her map video. So there's a few people to go and check out. Hopefully my mods will do this right. We need a link to QE's video, a link to PJ Crookshank's channel. It's a bit of a tongue twister. And my video, Paula's video, QE's video, Crookshank's video. We're doing nothing but sharing videos today. It's 4 of them that we've covered today. Hopefully a few of my mods will be all over it. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff for you to check out. There's well over 100 people watching. So at the very least, we're acting as a gateway to a few different other videos. One of them's mine. That's the most important one. Check that one out first. Anything else happen over the weekend?
Level Observer commented on one of your videos, which is good to see, Nathan.
Yeah, I saw his comment. Yeah, like I say, we've both been subscribed to each other for a while, and, you know, I watch his videos, he watches mine, but there's very seldom an opportunity for us to actually sort of interact, which we're not. We're both, at the moment, for the audience's benefit, Level Earth Observer has suddenly come on the receiving end of what I got a year ago from Jaren. Yeah, now, for different reasons for him and Jaren versus me and Jaren, but nevertheless, he's on the receiving end of it, and doing what I did, just standing his ground, defending himself. But very useful for me to sort of piggyback off the back of that and say, here you go, like we said 12 months ago, but now other people are joining in with it because Jaren's got to get defensive against this particular person. But all of the reasons that an idiot might have found legitimate when he did them to me don't apply to Level Earth Observer, but Jaren still applied them, like making money. So it's like, well, that's backfired badly. So like, right, well, I'll use that as my examples then. If I can't say no, I've got no defense to wanting to earn a living, that makes me a scammer according to Jaren. How am I supposed to defend it by saying, well, I'm not making any money? Well, I can't, obviously. But Level Earth Observer can and did to great effect. So it's like, well, when you do that and we're suddenly united against an enemy that's on our own side, internal civil war in Flat Earth, then, I'll take any ally I can get in that regard, especially when they're just generally a nice bloke. The guy's like an ex-crane operator. He's just a salt-of-the-earth guy. And making videos about what he observes. Next thing you know, he's being called a scammer and a shill by Jaren too. Because presumably he's been pointing out that this whole affirming the consequent fallacy that is the Antarctic trip is a complete joke. But because Jaren's involved with it, next thing you know, the person who's critiquing it, in this case Level Earth Observer, he's a scammer. You're like, no, you're going to be pushed to call someone who's got a completely unmonetized channel that just gives up their time to share their, love of debunking NASA or whatever it is that Level Earth Observer's doing in individual videos. Then you're gonna brace against it, and that's what, like I say, I dealt with 12 months ago with Jaren, and Level Earth Observer's doing now. So shout out to you if you're watching, Level Earth Observer. Love your stuff. Anything else? It's nice to get a good summary with loads of people watching. There we go. Divergent Droid put PJ Cruikshank's channel. Check it out. Click the link. Go and subscribe. Check out Paula's video as well. It's slightly above it. Hopefully she does give it a better title. Because like I say, if you want to get a really good, concise summary of what's going on in Flat Earth with the arguments that are currently on the table, how effective they are, and some of the straw man rebuttals we've had over the last 10 years with the maps and models that are being used to do about it, which was the overarching theme, therefore the title from memory. But it does need something more impactful. Yeah, I'd like more people to watch Paula's video, which is probably why she was keen for me to note it when she was talking to me in the chat yesterday. I was kind of talking to myself here at the moment. Sorry. Yeah, good video, Paula. Plug it as much as you like. Change the title, put something clickbaity on it to get more people watching it.
The Answers to Reality, new title.
Yeah, something like that. Something super catchy. If you happen to be in my audience, right, and when we run the live stream, or now if you choose to do so, go and click on Paula's video, just so you've got a reminder or it's in your recently watched list or whatever. And then give it a watch and just give her some ideas of what you think would be a clickbaity, catchy title to stick on the top of it, just to get more traffic towards it. Obviously, by doing that, I'm directing more traffic towards it, which helps in itself. But yeah, check out Paula's video and see if you can give us some ideas of how to retitle it to get more eyes on it from our own side and the opponents, but more so our own side. It's just such a it was nice for me to hear it coming out of your lips, actually, Paula. All the stuff that we're all saying in unison now, concisely, with the same hymn sheet, in tune. It's like, this is nice. This is a good melody. 113 people watching. Very warm welcome to you all. If you've only just got here, please share the show if you've not done so already. It's just 2 clicks. Click the share button.
Hello, Nathan. Hello, Nathan.
Hello.
Oh, hello, Nathan. Nathan, I've got 3 comments I want to say. The first one, I enjoy you speaking to Matthew Learns last time. That you cracked me up laughing. I really enjoyed that.
Somebody suggested that I've got him over a barrel to say Earth was measured flat in that last session. Do you recall that? Did he say Earth was measured flat? Or have to concede that Earth was measured flat in some form in the last one? I can't remember.
Yes, he did. Yes.
I'll have to go back and trim that out. Thank you, by the way. Is it T? Or Tay? How do you say it?
Oh, it's T. It's T.
T. Like the name of my espresso machine.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, very. Better mic than Neil.
Oh yeah. I just wanted to say I enjoyed you speaking to Matthew Learns last time. It was you cracked me up laughing. That guy doesn't understand a word what you're saying.
Oh, on the contrary, I think he does. I think he's just very
Like
slippery.
you question him, and then you find out that he's not making any sense. That is, and then you start berating him. He cracks me up laughing. That guy. How can he's supposed to be a math teacher, teaching school children, but he doesn't understand what you're talking about.
It's a university, not school children, but I still call them children. But yes.
What's my second one is I noticed that when you talk to the Glurfs and you're responding to them, how come they're not responding to what you're saying?
Because it
Like
undermines
for
their
example,
belief.
you say to them,
Too painful.
sorry, go on.
Too painful.
Oh, that's probably why.
You married?
You say to them, yeah,
Are you
they'll
married?
say to you, there's men in space, and then you tell them they've broken the second law of thermodynamics. Once you say that to them, they don't understand what you're saying, and then they'll start to get angry, and then start calling you names, and it's just silly. Like, it cracks me up.
Are you married?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I'm not married. No.
Got a girlfriend? Relationship?
Not at the moment. No.
Okay, well, you have at some point by that answer. Okay, imagine your last relationship. You're deeply in love for the sake of this discussion, and a guy comes up to you and points out that your wife's been cheating, and he starts laying it out.
Yeah.
And your reaction is to get angry and say, you're a liar. No, she hasn't. And when he starts showing you footage on his phone from his CCTV where his business caught her cheating, you can't even take it in. You can't acknowledge it in that moment. It's someone else. It's someone that looks like my wife. It's not her. She was at home. No, she weren't. She was in front of my CCTV. You can't hear it. So you attack the messenger. You knock the guy's phone out of his hand, tell him he's a scumbag. That's what they're doing. They don't want to believe it.
Oh, it's funny. It cracks me up. Nathan, it cracks me up, man. When I conversate with people, when I talk to people, when they say something, I respond to what they're saying. I don't change the subject. I listen to what they're saying, and then I'll respond. I don't get angry or anything. It's important to pay attention to what people are saying to you, and then responding to the words that's coming out their mouth. Like, obviously the gloves are not responding, so like I just find it weird. Like the communication skills is appalling.
Cognitive dissonance and pain. That's what it'll do to you. Let me just do a quick shout out. Shout out to Phoenix Rising 86 says FE Math, that's Charles, is in Leo's comment saying Earth too biggie. In other words, flat Earth math is conceding yes, we can measure Earth flat, but it's only because it's so big. Yeah. I remember my mind has been recently jogged Phoenix Rising because he joined our sun tracking to give us elevation angles 10 years ago. He gave us flat Earth measurements. It was his first introduction to me. With his flat Earth elevation angle measurements for the sun tracking. He was measuring a flat Earth all the way back then too. They all were. That's like the only way Earth's ever been measured. Thanks for the super chat.
Yeah, just ask them. So what you're saying is that we measure Earth flat then, right? And they have to agree.
Or not. The guy on the Discord server on Friday said it quite happily because no one's leading him and he's quite casually and comfortably telling you that, yeah, we'll measure this small local area flat. That's perfectly acceptable. It's only because it's a small local area with respect to your tool. And therefore Earth's a really big ball. That, in his mind, was perfectly cushy. That's it. That's job's a good one. And then I say, okay, yeah, okay, I'll accept that. So and then I slow down, get really close to my mic and go, measure Earth flat then. And suddenly he realises what he's just said and doesn't want to restate it. Because obviously restating it is stating that we measure Earth flat. And in his mind, he knows damn well that beyond that, there's nothing he can do to justify why it would be anything other than the measurement that he's just taken. Locally flat. Sorry, does locally change that we're measuring it flat? No. What about if I'm a giant? Does that change that we're measuring it flat? No. What about us not being giants? Does that change that we're measuring it flat? No. What about if you tell me your reification of a ball that we're not measuring and how it is the ball we're not measuring as a justification for measuring it flat? Does that make it anything other than flat? No. They're just measuring Earth flat and they damn well know it. And when they say it casually, it's all good because they've justified and apologised for why it hasn't been measured ball-shaped. Me pointing out that you not measuring it ball-shaped and telling me how insignificant Earth curve is when you measure Earth is an insignificant Earth curve and a flat Earth measurement. That's all that is. They just don't like it when you point that out to them in those terms, rather than it's okay to be ball-shaped when you're measuring flat, according to them, because that's an apology. It's all good then. We're allowed to measure Earth flat as ball-believing numpties. Why wouldn't we? How else would we measure it? Is what they all cried. And they'll all do it for everyone, all of you. If you understand this argument, you'll have your opponent telling you it's measured flat. I assure you of that. It's my guarantee. And the more that happens, sorry, just one last point. The more that happens, the more likely this is the gateway to taking everybody off the ball. We need something as flat earthers. If you're an evangelical flat earther looking to convert people, what you need is something, a key that allows the person you're talking to accept that they already knew before you told them. Now, that's a really difficult ask. You've got to get your opponent to basically concede that they knew before you told them. Now, what does that mean? It means two things. Number one, you'll get no bleeding credit. You're just insignificant as the messenger. Well, rather than being called a charlatan, a fraud, told that you need to be condemned, told that you should never have children and the most stupid person in the earth, and they should walk away with their belief in a ball retained. That's the only alternative, it seems to me. So you've got to have that key that allows your opponent, if you want to call them that, the person standing opposite, to say, I already knew, in this case, Earth is measured flat. Because they do. So that was my task to myself. By the end of this year, and it's happened within 7 months, which is good, quicker than I expected, actually, I wanted to be showing one or two, at least, examples of bull believers fresh in 2024 saying, yeah, Earth's measured flat, of course. But it's only because it's a really big ball, or it's because it's allowed to be locally flat. I wanted those examples fresh and new, and I've got 4 of them already. 5 of them if Charles, I don't know if that's the case, but if Charles has said it. Not Charles. Who's the other guy, the teacher that we were just talking about? Forgotten his name. Anyway.
Matthew Learns.
Matthew
Learns. But what I'm saying is there's already plenty of examples that I can put a nice edited humorous video with me making a pot noodle in the middle of it out to show, look, I was right. I'm not lying to you. By the end of the year, and here we are, 7 months in, 8 months in, with our opponents telling us how flat it is. Now, why did I know that was a safe bet? Because they'd already been doing it for 10 years. We just had our focus on the apology for how ball-shaped it wasn't, rather than how flat it was, when they told us that. Our focus wasn't in the correct place. Since 2024, that probably would have been the case if it had come up at any stage. Happens to be 4 years later, with us beating the same exact drum about how Earth curve measurements are debunked. So what we're left with is all their admissions that Earth was measured flat. Prior to their Earth curve extrapolations being debunked, they could just about get away with that. Not anymore. They don't have any measurements of Earth curve. They've been debunked. All they have is the flat Earth measurements that they used to just about get away with saying, but because it's a big ball, that's all cushy. They can't do that anymore. Just take the measurements, use your opponent's sword against them. Said it would happen, it has. So for every detractor out there going, you can't just say Earth's measured flat. Or can I not? Is it okay if my opponents say it? Dickhead flat earthers has said that you shouldn't use this argument. Am I alright if my globe head opponents say it for me? Will that be alright by you, numpty flat earthers that don't seem to realise how bloody excellent this argument is? Am I okay to get my globe heads to say, yeah, we measure Earth flat? Is that all good? Because apparently I'm not allowed to say it's not reasonable to say we measure Earth flat when that's absolutely what we do, so much so that our opponents already know it. I get very few of those. What about you? I'll ask Neil. Very few flat earthers still approach me going, this isn't a very good argument.
Yeah, they're still crying that. They're jealous. They didn't come up with it.
That's fine. I don't care. Jealousy fades quickly when you're in a position where you need to pummel your opponent. Like Jaren with the Black Swan. Yeah? He's got Brenda in front of him and he wants to shut her dumbass down, so he did it with the Black Swan. Well, jealousy didn't come into it when he wants to shut down some ball-believing numpty. You just use what's best at your disposal. If that knife is in front of you, you need to slit a throat, you pick it up and slit a throat with it. That's what Jaron did with the Black Swan. And when he did, I rubbed my hands together. Now, it's the same for everybody else. If they realise that all you've got to talk about is measuring Earth flat, and your opponent damn well knows it, because I've showed them over the course of a year how our opponents absolutely, without question, I already knew it was the case, measure Earth flat also, they'll start using it and winning. Good. Like always, you don't have to credit anybody. If you win by getting your opponent to say that they measure Earth flat, but only because it's so big, and then you happen to be the person that knows in the back of your mind while they're saying it, I can stand up now and go, so we measure Earth flat then. You take that win. You don't have to credit Flat Earth Debate, me, Quantum Eraser, the Journey of Science, the Black Swan. It's your victory. Just lap it up, man, when they're telling you how flat it is. Repoint it out to them. And when they say, oh, no, you're missing out on how ball-shaped it is when we measure it flat, you're ignoring that. And what, your belief that you haven't justified? Yeah, I will. The measurement bit's definitely a measurement, though, right? Good. Flat. Good. Yeah. Moving on. Earth is flat. You'll measure it that way too, will you, baller? Thanks.
Yeah, and then consequently, we all benefit. So, because normies will see that, and then they'll eventually find their way here. So you do the community a service.
Absolutely. 120 people watching. Please share the show if you've not done so already. As always, a very warm welcome to all of you who've just joined us. Good fun is being had by all. We'll have a couple more minutes chit-chat and then we'll move into the after show, though, I think. Did you like my Donny, whatever he's called, draws video about, well, if science says take a load of pills, great. If science says don't drink bleach, great. If science says Earth's a ball, then hunky-dory, but not for flat earthers, science-denying clowns. Category error, son. Category error. That was the fifth thing to do. 4 videos and Donny draws. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Short though it was. Maybe let him know what science is. Hello. Science deals with cause and effect.
Natural cause and effect relationship.
Yeah, I should say it, but I'm not even going to try and justify it by being implicit.
You say that a lot and you say space a lot instead of the vacuum of space.
Yeah, when you're looking for a cause of an effect, yeah. If you don't state it and someone decides to take advantage and put something that has been made by man through the cause and effect reasoning, would you not immediately say that but for the fact that it has been made by man, we wouldn't have the thing to put through the method? So you already know what's caused that particular instance because it's synthetic and man made it. Yeah, anyway, just because it's not implicit, clearly, otherwise I wouldn't be getting told off. Science is only interested in the physical and natural world. It's the phys in physics. So physics, that's natural science, is only interested in phenomena that occur in the natural world. If you induce it as a man, then it's not open to inquiry through the scientific method. Natural phenomena only. Anything else?
Just say that the 3 videos that you covered last week were a blast. The guy who had the music really loud in his mix, and there was Beardy Weirdy, and then Polosaurus Rex. Yeah, last week was a blast.
I also agreed, but statistically, they've done all 3 of those videos you've just named, and the politics debate have done particularly badly. That is to say, all of them have got under 1,000 views. And I thought, as you just said it, I'm going to say it too, all of last week's shows were excellent. All of them. But they've got particularly low views. And we're at that point where I'm like, we are absolutely on fire. Our argument has never been stronger. We've got more things to plug and punt to our audiences on both sides of the discussion than ever. And obviously, having done it for 10 years, my ability in terms of producing material, editing material, and chucking it out onto the internet has also improved and is at as a higher standard as it could be. So what do you expect would be the result as a YouTuber? Well, obviously, everything's going in the right direction. No, those extremely effective demolishments of the globe Earth rhetoric and proof of flat Earth throughout those 3 videos. 4 actually, if you include the politics debate, although you didn't. Slightly underperforming, not massively, but just less than the week before. Noteworthy. I happen to
What
keep an eye
we'll
on it.
say, Nathan, quickly is a lot of people I know there's factory shutdowns, people on holiday, so people enjoying the summer while it lasts.
Fair enough. That may have had an impact. Either way, we'll probably discuss it in the after show, but with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Got to put the house lights on in my room, so when I turn the studio lights on to do the outro on camera, suddenly I'm blinded by these lights because I'm sat in quite low level, like almost darkness. So I'm looking back at on the 5-second delay on the output feed that goes to YouTube, and I'm looking at me and I'm like, little slitty eyes going, oh God, I can't see anything on the outro. Must remember to put the house lights on. By house lights, I just mean a normal light bulb like you'd have in a domestic room. In techie speak, those are the house lights. Because I'm sure you're all fascinated with my technical jargon.
Yeah, it's Greek to me almost. So.
Well, my follow spot operator's on holiday today. I'd normally have a guy, but he's not here today.
Nathan, can I quickly comment on the Black Swan?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You could, but you broke up. Try that again. You still there? You've muted yourself, I think, T.
Sorry, Nathan. There's something happened to my phone. Sorry, Nathan.
That's all right. You said you wanted to comment on the Black Swan. Feel free.
Yeah. I seen that video, that picture you showed. You showed on the TV that you got the 2 oil rigs. You got one that's closer and one that's a bit further away, and it proves that there's no curvature, right? And I can see clearly the water's level. I can see clearly one oil platform's closer than the other. The other oil platform is the furthest one. Behind that, you got the horizon, which is clearly horizontal. Yeah, it clearly proves that there's no curvature. Then I was watching. Do you know Professor Dave? He's at he's doing a lecture to an audience. He's commenting about the Black Swan. There's a big screen behind him. The Black Swan clearly demonstrates there's no curvature. Yeah, the water's level, but the guy is still continuing to tell the audience that the Earth is round. That cracked me up laughing, Nathan. I just cracked up laughing. The absurdity. The Black Swan clearly demonstrates no curvature. Oh, sorry.
Do you understand how it demonstrates no curvature? Don't be embarrassed to say no.
Of course, because there's no curvature. The water's level. Behind that, there's horizontal. The distance between the 2 oil platforms, you can clearly see clearly see there's one closer and the one's further away. There's no curvature.
Yeah, but why?
Now that is all true. Yeah, sorry.
But why? Why does that say
go on, I'm
there's no
listening,
curvature?
Because that's the picture that I'm seeing with my own 2 eyes.
Yeah, but
that corresponds to what I see in real life.
The way the argument specifically works is the horizon is beyond the oil rigs, and the maths for Earth curve says that the horizon will be at 1.2 miles based on a 1-foot observer. So that camera is on a 1-foot tripod. It's only 1 foot above the water, or above sea level, more importantly. So based on their maths, the hill that's blocking the view is at 1.2 miles, or 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That's what their math says. So forget the water, forget everything, and imagine that you're just in a hilly area. And in one of the valleys, there's a corner shop, whatever, cafe, but you can't see that corner shop because there's a massive hill blocking your view of it. Yeah? Well, what
Yeah,
that image
correct, yeah.
shows is that on this particular day, you walk outside, and where there's normally a hill and in the way of this shop that you know is there, you get up one day and the hill's gone. And there's just, you can see the shop. You're like, where's the hill gone? Oh, well, it's behind the shop now. You're like, hills don't do that. Hills don't get up and walk behind the things that are behind them. That's not how hills work. But in that image, the hill that is claimed to be in front of the oil rigs is behind it. Yeah? That's their horizon. Earth curve is their horizon. So the horizon not being in front of them and being behind them shows that their claimed hill, which they say the horizon is, isn't where it could physically be. And the only reason we've got the oil rigs is to show that we know how far the oil rigs are in distance, therefore how far their hill should be, and isn't. There you go.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, Nathan. but Professor Dave still continues to tell everybody that the Earth is round, the heliocentric model, curvature, and all that. And I just start cracking up laughing.
Well,
That's
Professor
what I'm
Dave's
going to
not
say.
very bright. You know that, right? He pretends to be an intellectual.
You're talking about Professor Dave?
Professor Dave Explains YouTube channel. Yeah, well, number one, he's not a professor.
Yeah,
But
I've
number
watched-
two, he's a
Yeah,
quasi
he's-
pseudo intellectual or bullshitter.
Yeah, I've listened to Professor Dave so many times. I can't listen to him because I know he's talking rubbish. What's the word I'm looking for? The indoctrination is strong with Professor Dave. You just believe everything he's told about the heliocentric model.
Yeah, he regurgitates the surface level information, but he's got a broad surface level regurgitation to offer.
Yeah, I can't listen to him no more, man. I just that's why I enjoy listening to you, Nathan. It was like I know you're talking the truth, but when you find out all these globes are talking just rubbish about this, about pseudoscience and heliocentric model and all that, it's just man-made lies.
Yeah. Well, I owe all to the panel. They're the ones who do all the research. I just run a show. I'm very privileged, to be honest. I'll lap up all the glory, though. I mean, I'm not going to say don't give it me.
Yeah, I enjoyed all your long-hour politics show, Nathan. You crack me up non-stop. You question them, and then you find out they're lying, and then you start berating them, and then like it's just funny all from there on.
I have to be careful. It's not my server, so I shouldn't really be berating people in there. But it's they're hard pushed to not let me when they want content. They want people to be entertained in their server, and sometimes they'll allow the rules to be broken by the opponent, and at which point the floodgates open and they get chastised for their stupidity. And obviously, if the rules have already been broken enough for that opponent to be allowed to get frustrated and start swearing at me, for example, then fair game. Then you're going to get berated for your stupidity. You could have kept it civil.
Yeah, it's unnecessary to call people names and get rude to them. And just Nathan, if you tell me something like the second law of thermodynamics, if I don't know it, then I'm going to write it down and I'm going to find out the definition and the meaning of what that means. I won't continue like arguing with you. If I don't know something, then I'll just write it down and go and find out the meaning, the definition.
Yeah, the problem is with our opponents, they want to know that they do know. So any chink in their armour, they don't ever want to be perceived. So them not knowing something to them is some massive loss to a flat earther that they couldn't possibly let happen. And they would rather humiliate themselves and bullshit their way through stuff that they don't know and even get it massively wrong, or even stand in complete contradiction of their original globe earth rhetoric they're there to defend. They'll do all of those things rather than be perceived for 1 second to not know what they're talking about. They just, I don't know, there's a pride thing.
Nathan, the Bible says humiliation brings humbleness. It means you've got to be humiliated, and then you start to relax and calm and be able to understand things a bit better. You know, no more self-righteousness, no more believing that they're right all the time. You know, humiliation is important.
That's what we call
Yeah, go on,
positive
Nathan.
spin. So you're saying, well, because of the high degree of humbling that you will face on your flat Earth journey, it's almost cathartic. It's biblical in nature. You know, it's a fast track to getting all that humility all done at once, because the entire general public will stand against you and ridicule you and mock you. So, you know, that'll humble you pretty quickly. So it's good. That's some excellent positive spin.
Nathan, if I don't know something, honestly, I don't know nothing. I won't argue with those people. I'll just write it down and then find out what it means and then come back. I won't argue or call people names or tell them that, oh, the Earth is still round. Do you know what I noticed, Nathan? What was it? Yeah. You see these gloves? They seem to have an idea. They think that all flat earthers are lying about the shape of the Earth. And I say to them, we are not lying. We can see the shape of the Earth with our own eyes. We're not lying.
It's a red herring.
But somehow
it's a red herring ad hominem. So rather than dealing with whatever you've given them in terms of flat Earth measurements or anything else for that matter, if they can make it about you, so you are just a liar, then this whole argument just boils down to whether or not you are credible. Well, they like that, don't they? It's just about this flat Earth idiot. Yeah? And then they can stereotype with one example. All flat earthers are like this idiot. That's how they like to operate. Make it about the individual, not about the argument.
Yeah, communication's appalling. They need to be able to communicate, some of these people. Go back to school and learn how to communicate appropriately.
Yeah. But again, they've been trained to ridicule us, haven't they? Throughout their lifetime, they've been trained that it's acceptable to ridicule us and the gingers.
Nathan, you don't know how many times I've been called a flat tard, flat head, flat this, flat that. I'm lying. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just continue lying. I'm not lying. I said to him, I'm not lying. It's the truth. Because the truth matters. It matters.
Consider yourself lucky. Being
Because
called
nobody
a
likes
liar,
that.
that's the thin end of the wedge, I assure you. You know, at the other end of the extreme, they're sending the police round to you.
Yeah.
I think I'm joking.
Yeah, people get triggered. They get triggered, don't they?
Yeah.
Why? It's not unnecessary. Just talk.
I've noticed that I'm getting more ad hominem attacks now when I start talking about latitude. I've never had so many in my life, which is quite
they know
telling.
how weak they are on that score, don't they, One Deck?
Yeah, I've had a few last few cover. I keep popping in out of politics, and I'm just latitude. I just tell them now you can't use horizontal, you can't use level, altitude, anything to do with flatness, levelness. You can't use them words. They don't like it when I say that. You can't tell us what to say and what we can't say. I said, well, if you're proving curvature, you can't be mentioning horizontal or elevation angles, for that matter. So talk about curvature. And they just don't like it. And then when I keep going on about latitude is a flat Earth elevation angle management, it lasts about 5 minutes and then the attacks start then. So
I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I managed to capture on that video that I just released. Well, the one that's just come out to the public on Sunday, I think I released it. As soon as the guy's into, right, you've just told us you measure Earth flat. He's like, are you mentally unstable? To me. It's like, I'm just trying to get you to reiterate that which you've just said, and it's the 6th or 7th attempt. But the response to me saying, okay, you've just told me you measure Earth flat, let's just have it reiterated so we're all clear that you and I both measure Earth flat. Are you mentally unstable? That was his response.
Nathan, you're not mentally unstable at all. I think they are. Do you know when you say to them latitude? I don't think they understand what the latitude means.
No, they think they're turning a giant protractor with you standing in hell. They're like, 1 degree for every 60 nautical miles? That's only possible on a ball. What, with you standing in hell turning the globe like it's a protractor? How are you going to measure it?
And Nathan, I heard.
Sorry.
Go on, what are
It's
you?
because they've
Go
always
ahead.
looked at a globe and seen them circles around his latitude. It's around the ball. It's lines around the ball. And when you tell them it comes from a flat circle of equal altitude measurement, it's soul destroying.
Yeah.
With me, yeah, if I find something is the truth, yeah, I have no problem accepting it, acknowledging it, because it's the truth. It's that simple for me anyway. If I find something that's true and I can see it, and over a period of long time, I can see it's the truth, then I can accept it. It's not a problem for me. I don't get triggered or anything because it's the truth.
Not a problem for most people. Normal globe believers won't have an issue with this. So, I've talked about this a few times. When my sister and I were discussing celestial navigation, and she's nodding along, she's only nodding along because she's been trained in it and she understands how to measure Earth flat. So why would she disagree? She can't, she won't, and she's not getting triggered. She's just nodding while her husband's absolutely going mental. You know, he can't cope with it. And she's just agreeing. It's because, yeah, we do measure Earth flat. That's how I was trained to do it. I can't disagree with you. You're telling me how I've been trained how to do it. Yeah? She also reminded me that I was there when she was doing it, but I couldn't remember. But the point being, how is a normie, globe believer, standard rank and file person in society, not anti-flat earther, how are they going to disagree with this if they understand it? If they don't understand it, and you explain it to them, then they're not going to suddenly brace against it. It's only the anti-flat earthers that are caught between a rock and a hard place. When one deck puts to him, see these lines around your globe? They only exist if we measure Earth flat, and they're required for your globe. So for you to have that globe, you must measure Earth flat. Here's how we do it with elevation angles to Polaris to give you those lines around your globe. So flat Earth is the genesis, globe Earth is the religion. Do you understand? Now, for an anti-flat earther, that's a very different proposition, because they've only got two outcomes. Number one, deny the measurement that's wrapped around their globe. Well, they're denying the globe. So they've got no claim at all when they deny the measurement. Okay? No, what they want is to have the flat Earth measurement and then extrapolate it into a ball without you noticing that they've just measured Earth flat. So the hard place to the rock of denying the ball altogether is accepting Earth is measured flat for them to then express their belief by extrapolation. Well, I don't care about your belief by extrapolation after we measure Earth flat. Accept it. We measure Earth flat. You measure Earth flat for your ball, don't you, globe believer? Now, if they say yes, that's the end of the discussion. We measure Earth flat. If they say no, that's not a measurement I'm going to accept, well, you don't accept latitude around your ball then. You've got nowhere to go, so it's just going to drive them into insanity. Not average Joe Normie. He's not going to be driven into insanity. He's got an excuse to say, yeah, I already knew that. Yeah, I already knew about circles of equal elevation. Yeah, I already knew about latitude. Everyone knows about latitude and how it's measured. Of course. Nothing more than an angle measurement off a flat Earth that I already knew about. You're not impressing anybody when you tell me it's flat. I already knew. Would be a potential outcome for a normie. Not an anti-flat earther. This will drive them to the nut house. And it's already started.
So Nathan, saying that, I spoke to somebody, one of my cousins recently, about the flat Earth, and he was giving me funny looks and thinks that I was lying. I said to him, "Look, let's talk about measuring Earth, the angles, yeah, and let's talk about trigonometry and triangulation, yeah." And guess what happened next? He got angry and just walked away. I want him to explain to him, but he just walked away straight away. I have no idea why that was. Yeah, go on, Nathan.
I'm just laughing. I'm just thinking, yeah, that's par for the course. They can't cope.
I know why that happened.
Yeah, Sasha.
Because he's programmed like we was that the flat Earth is the most stupid thing in the world, and there is nothing more stupid than that. That I was thinking 10 years ago. if you mention that. That means that there are a lot of people, if you only say that word, that would be the most stupid things they ever heard. And then when you start to explain the most stupid things in the world, you cannot expect that people will listen that. Even if you have the good reasons, but they know that in their head it's most stupid things in the world. If you understand me.
Yeah.
That's the point. That we are programmed to think that thing is stupid. Only programmed to think, and you don't give a possibility to look into that more, because why to look in something what is more stupid than anything else?
Right. So you've got to leverage what they already know to be true. All right. That's the only way to win. So I'll just read out this comment from Where's Wally on that video we've been discussing, my video that we've been discussing today. I know we discussed 5 different videos, but the one that's ballers losing their mind because they've measured Earth flat. Well, comment response from Where's Wally, quote, Earth, let's just bring it up actually. Oh, I have already. Earth is so big that it is okay to measure from a local flat plane, full stop. But the flat horizontal plane in the UK is not parallel with the flat horizontal plane in the USA. So, Wally conceding that he is going to be measuring Earth flat. My response, yeah, we measure Earth flat. Welcome to Flat Earth. Facts. The other shite you believe in is irrelevant. P.S. We debunked Earth curve in 2020. The calculation also needs a flat plane called surface level. But if we ignore my response, witty and to the point that it was, where's Wally saying? Let's just break it down. Earth is so big, well, there's a baseless assertion that doesn't tally and is a contradiction with his next statement, so we can disregard that. Big doesn't say spherical either, so its size is irrelevant. We're measuring it, so we'll just focus on that. That it is, quote, okay to measure from a local flat plane. Okay, the word local mean anything? Not really. We're going to be local because it's going to be measured, so it's definitely going to be where I am, which is local to me. So local's completely non sequitur. Doesn't need to be in there. So what have we actually got? It's okay to measure from a plane that's flat. That's what Where's Wally saying. It's okay to measure from a local flat plane, spelled incorrectly, Plain. That means every single time I cite this, I've got to put brackets sick. Ugh. Anyway, but the flat horizontal plane in the UK... Just read the rest of it. But the flat horizontal plane in the UK is not parallel to the flat horizontal plane in the USA. So UK's got a flat plane and the USA's got a flat plane, and it's okay to measure it as a flat plane. That's what Wally's telling us. Hope you're all clear what's going on. Go ahead, whoever that was.
You cannot ascribe that to
I was just saying,
flatness. The flat measurement, you cannot ascribe that to the flatness, he's saying.
yeah, but he's missing something else as well in celestial navigation. You know, when you do take, say, you've got a 60-degree angle for 60 times 60 for the mileage between the GP and the observer. That's not locally flat anymore. That's it's a big distance of flatness, Wally. Yeah.
There is no local flatness on the sphere. If you even have the 100 billion times bigger sphere than this, you don't have locally flatness. The sphere is a sphere. There is no local flatness on the sphere. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but we're the crazy ones because we observe the Earth flat, we measure it flat, we deal with it flat.
You can
all
make
engineering navigation.
You can make a comparison. Put your ant near to you and ask the ant, is it your local like my local? On the same earth, for the ant, his local will be 10 centimeters. For your local will be 3.5 miles, or 10 miles, or 20 miles. Is that correct? But the Earth for the ant and for you is the same, is the sphere. And you can put the giant 100 meters height also near to you, and then ask the giant where is the local flatness.
It's just so telling, isn't it? I mean, now that this is what they got to now. Yeah, yeah, we do live in a globe, but we measure it flat. that's where we are now.
And if you measure flat, that cannot be flat surface. That's the logic. They are measuring flat, and
globes can be flat.
Yeah, because if you're measuring flat, that's giving the final result the globe. That means if you measure flat, you cannot have the flat surface in their logic.
Have you never seen a flat globe before or something?
Yeah. I don't know. You need to look in their minds.
May I ask the new gentleman how he found Nathan Oakley 1980 on YouTube? As he have to divert quite a few alleyways to get here?
Oh, hello. Yeah. I found Nathan when I was doing my study, my research. I was listening to when I was doing my research. I had to listen to as many flat earthers as possible, and I came across Nathan when I was doing my studies. Yeah, go on.
Can you remember how specifically?
Yeah. Because in the beginning, when I first knew about the flat Earth, I thought it was the most ridiculous and absurd thing I've ever heard in my life.
No, sorry, I mean,
so
how did you find Nathan specifically?
Oh, on YouTube.
Yeah.
I've got Nathan on
the
YouTube
algorithm
because I do a
or
lot of my
somebody
study.
saying his name?
I'm sorry. Sorry, say again?
Via the algorithm or somebody shouting him out?
Oh, he come up on my YouTube recommendations.
There you go, Nathan.
Yeah, but when?
Some YouTube love after all.
Yeah, but when?
In a time, in a time, it was easier to come to Nathan. Let's say it's 5 years ago. Now it's not.
No. In the beginning, when I looked into it, I was listening to was it Mark Sargent, Globebusters. What's the other one? What's his name? Dave Murphy, the black guy. He's another flat earther. There's another one, Eric Dubay. I was listening to him as well. What's the other one? Mark Skiba. I was listening to him. Do you know what's it called? Something Nodell from Globebusters.
Yeah.
Bob. That's it. Bob Nodell. I used to listen to Globebusters, but then I came across Nathan. It was his show's much better. Like he cracks me up laughing. It's just never ending, funny and
so it's quite some
hilarious
time ago,
comedy.
All right, no worries, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, that's all I've got to say anyway.
Yeah, so it's back when obviously back in a time when you could still find us if you typed it into the search engine.
In a time, many people were saying flat earthers on their channels, go to Nathan channel and debate Nathan. That was the message for the Glober. If you have the proof, go to Nathan channel. And that was mine. Who the fuck is Nathan? And let's go to there to see what.
Who's Nathan? Nathan is Mr. Legend. Sorry.
So I was just saying, my dad's 80 odd. He's not been well. Blah blah blah. I got him a new phone to try and use because he's broke. So I've been trying to get him used to this Samsung phone and set things up for him. I had to use some of my passwords and details for him to use certain things. So when you go on, if you go pop on the YouTube thing of his, you get my sort of history and what's going on. Anyway, my sister-in-law, he was moaning about the phone and all that, and she's gone on it to try and do something. And she said to me, I think your dad's looking into flat earth. Because like the Nathan Oakley shows were popping up and everything that that's on my playlist and my favourites and things like that. It's just she was like a bit concerned about it. I said, well, I said, it won't be my dad, it's me that. She knows anyway, but it was just funny how she's looking at my dad's 80 odd years old and he's looking into the flat earth.
Love it.
Never too late.
If you want to find out, type the Nathan Oakley on the YouTube research, and you will find out what will happen. It will come out maybe his 2 shows, and that's all. And then other videos, all will be all. You will see. Only type it.
Yeah, his live during the live show, I typed his name in, and his live show doesn't appear in the search. His channel does, and then when you go into his channel, you can find his live show. But that should be in the search and would be for anybody else.
Good stuff. Right, I'm actually going to round out relatively early today. So with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, subscribing, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.